Welcome back on this glorious and amazing day. Thanks so much for joining. Last week we asked a very painful question. What happens to so many individuals that they do treat love as a verb and they're always giving and giving, even when they're not even enjoying it, even when they don't want it, because they know it's important to the other one. But the word that I didn't mention last week that just came to me now, the other person does not reciprocate. Not only doesn't reciprocate 100% or 80%, barely even 5%, and that's very painful. And I thought a lot about this many, many years ago, until I realized, as I said, it doesn't matter, what I said last week, doesn't matter if you call it narcissist or not. But in order for me to understand humans, I basically got this understanding that will explain to you about that person that makes it easier, and then we'll go to practical advice. I basically divide all human beings into two groups. One, I call them the sponges, a big sponge, just imagine a huge sponge. And then the other human is just beautiful soil. When I do a good deed into humans that are called soil, it's like taking a seed, planting it in them. I'm giving them one of my seeds. I'm giving them kindness, something that they like. And then I'm a nurturing spouse. I'm a nurturing lover. So I come and water them. I make them feel good. I rub their back. I give them what they like. You think it's boring? You think, my gosh, this love is terrible? You know what happens when you put an orange seed into the soil? It does take time, but before you know it, it just, besides the interest that it grows, you see the tree grow, and then eventually oranges grow, and they don't stop to grow. Not only do they grow, but each orange has its own seeds that could create many other orange. That is love as an action, and that's one group of people. You invest in them, or right away they'll bounce back to you, which is another analogy I use in my own brain, which is like the tennis court. You throw the ball in their court, they throw it back to your court, and it bounces back and forth. That's healthy love. I throw love, you bounce back love, and that's fine. Many times it doesn't happen right away, like the way the ball just bounces back and forth. In the tennis court, it's more like you're planting something in the soil, and it won't happen today. It might take 3 years, but it will definitely come back. That's the healthy human being. So the short term will be the tennis court analogy. The long term will be the soil. Then you have the unhealthy individuals, which, as I mentioned, I don't know their percentage. It could be 20 to 60%. They are the massive sponges, which some of them might be your own spouses. And those are the ones that asked the question last week. And basically you give that seed, you put it into the sponge. You give that love. You give from your time. You give from your soul. You give from your guts. And you give and you give and you give. And after 10 years, you feel like having a nervous breakdown because this person is never satisfied. This person always wants more and always has excuses and manipulations and nonsense. Good excuses why they're not being nice to you, because you did this and you did that. Horrific. And basically you start believing those lies that you don't even deserve the love. So you think you're going to give more and more and more, and after 10 years you realize no matter what I do, it's never going to be good enough. Just like you can't heal a sick person that has cancer with lots of ice cream. And lots of people don't realize that cancer has to be dealt with one thing, and giving that unhealthy person or the narcissist or the sponge person that just takes, and never gives out like soil, it doesn't matter how much you're going to give them. And sadly, I've even seen people in their 50s and 60s that still think that things will turn around. Well, they're forced to think that way because it'll be too depressing to actually face the reality that this person needs to see a doctor, a therapist, or themselves, because they don't even exist. So let me summarize that yes, they are individuals, and your spouses might be one of them, that they just take. which they are the sponge. You put a seed in or you put water, it just soaks it up. Nothing comes out even 5 years later. Which certain trees you gotta wait 7 years for it to grow. Many trees just a few weeks, a few months. But these people, after 30 years, they won't give you a thing. They were very good before when they presented the worm to you, that they're very great people and they were so kind. And they sometimes even fake it to the public and treat you like royalty because they need everyone to believe that you're a nice person. But that's as much as your energy could go. But to actually get down and do what the other person really wants, you're out for lunch, you're not here. Now, I don't care if you're a narcissist, I don't care if you're not a narcissist. I don't need that label. I'm just judging your actions by your actions, and that's very, very simple. So to all of you, you need help. Basically, you need help. And you need to go to talk to someone that could help you with this thing. And I would highly advise you not to go with your spouse, because sadly, some of these people are so manipulative that if you go together to marriage counseling, they can even conquer the mind of the professional. And therefore, when I work with these individuals that I don't want to get involved, to be honest, I realize how dangerous this situation is. I tell them, but with one condition, I beg you, you don't have to listen to me, go on your own. Go on your own. After you finish whatever you got to finish in 1 to 5 sessions, then if the therapist wants to see the other person, they can see the other person. Because many times, this other individual that just takes, will suddenly dig up a whole bunch of stuff about you that may not even be true. Or even if it's true, it has nothing to do. Why? If it's true, maybe he or she is right for not giving you. I'll tell you why. Because the one that had the question last week that says, I give, I know you. How do I know you? I'll tell you right now how I know you. I know despite that you do not like things about him, despite that he's not nice to you, despite that he has insulted you, despite that I could read the list because it's a long one, you're still giving. You don't use that as an excuse, because everyone has an excuse why not to give. But you love the other person. You give as an action, as in a verb. But this person could come and he could dive straight into the therapy office and he's going to take over. And by that time, he already got the brain and the heart of the therapist. And now you're sort of going to be on the defense. It won't work. Therefore, it's important, if you feel that you're in the right and you feel that you're the one that's always giving and the other person's always the one that's taking, and there's never reciprocation going on, and there's always gaslighting and everything else, oh my gosh, the manipulation and you name it, go to the marriage counselor on your own first. That is my advice to you. But till then, please do remember, regardless of what you're going through, that you are way greater than you think you are. See you next week. Until then, always do remember that life will go from good to better. And if you're living in challenges, you will get out of it. You don't deserve challenges, and no one wants you to be in a challenging situation. And I pray that you get out sooner than later. Thanks for listening.